Hey, g'day guys, it's Adam from VideoShowMeHow, and in this video, this is one of a few in our Cape trip series, because if you've been following the channel for the last little while, if you're new here, go back and have a look at some of those other videos, but if you've been following the channel, you'll know that we are taking the DMAX on the EPIC of epic trips, and that is taking it all the way to the top, to Cape York. We've been working on building it out for a little while now, but specifically in the last little while, it's been a mad rush to get this guy all set up, ready to go to the top. So in this particular video, we've got a couple coming out to go with this in the series. For this video though, we're going to be looking at the actual trip prep on the vehicle and what are the bits and pieces that I've done to get this guy ready to go to the top. So stick around, let's get started. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a little while, you'll know that we've been building this guy for some time. If you're new to the channel, there is a playlist that I'll link in the video description down below that has the full build series. We're about 56 videos deep, I think, by the time we're filming this. So there is all sorts of mods that is done to the DMAX. So I'm not gonna bore you all and go through every single one of those. What we're gonna do, we're gonna sort of draw a line in the sand. If you haven't been following along and you're keen to see all the bits and bobs that we've done to the DMAX, go back and check out that playlist and it'll give you a bit of an idea of the stuff that's done. 90% of all of that stuff is still on the vehicle. And the final thing I just want to point out before we get stuck in, you don't have to have all of this gear. Most of this stuff, I would say, most of it is definitely a bit of a luxury, and you can totally go up the Cape with a vehicle that doesn't have all this stuff on it, right? So the main idea, I guess, is to get up there and have fun. But now that that's out of the way, let's get stuck into what I've changed and what you may not have seen before. We'll come around to the back in a minute. I've made sure I've got some Max tracks here on the top, just on top of the off-road animal roof rack. That's pretty standard. I have put some diff breathers inside here as well, particularly for the gearbox. I've heard some pretty horror stories there, and thank you very much to the gentleman that reached out. Snorkel is a must, that's all the same. You saw the ARB recovery points on both sides at the front, that's pretty much the same. I got this guy from Cane Toad Equipment just for a little bit of extra protection for the bonnet with any stone chips and that sort of thing. I've heard good things, so we'll see how that goes. New aerial placement here just off the hood, so that's one of those little hood mounts, works pretty well. Everything else here is pretty well the same. All I've really done in here, beyond what you've seen in the videos, is added some neoprene seat covers just to give a little bit of extra protection, particularly for sort of in and out of the water and that kind of thing. I do have some electronic mapping, so I'm going to be running the tablet here that I've got some mapping software that will run when we're at the top. I do have the paper maps as well as a bit of a backup. They're just down in there. Everything else in the back is pretty well the same. There's nothing else really new in here. Let's get around to the back, because this is where most of the changes have happened. Now, if you've been watching for a while, you'll know that I've been getting a bit of heat for a little while around. Why haven't you got a canopy? When are you going to canopy? All of the things. And it's time, there's a canopy. So I've just been building that out. There is a full how to install video and how this thing comes together. So that may be out by the time you're watching this. If not, shortly thereafter. We'll get into the back of that in a sec. We have a different awning that we're running. I'm having a go of the 23.0 Falcon 270. Really keen to see how that goes. On the top, we have the new 23.0 Saber X. This is their new one that lifts up on the side. There will be the full video on that as well, so you can see that in action. And right at the top there, we have a big solar panel, just an old house panel there to keep everything nice and charged. Now, if we walk around the back here and check out this canopy in a little bit more detail, you'll see on the sides, I've decked it out with some bags here on the sides. These are the clear tops. I really wanted to make sure that I can easily access bits and pieces. I'm going to test how all this goes, because I sort of haven't run this before on the canopy, obviously, so I'm keen to see how this goes. I was kind of thinking through what's the stuff that I want to be able to get to. A lot of charging cables and what have you for me is pretty critical to get to easily, and I don't want to be going and rummaging through stuff, so that's kind of what I put up here. Outside of that, the bigger cable stuff, so Anderson plugs, bigger chargers, all of that sort of gear in there. And then, of course, tiny little bit coffee addicted, so I've got all of my camping coffee set up just in there. So we'll see how that goes. On the other side here, we'll just come around and I'll give you a bit of a look at that. I've kind of just set that up as well with the little mold pack type structure here, the little honeycomb stuff. Use these little quick grips. I think they're called a quick fist, and they work pretty well. I've just got my little hatchet in there. My little extendable shovel that I use for sand and that sort of stuff works a treat. Been using it for yonks. And then all the way around the side, I've just got these guys that are the combo white and amber. That's all hooked up through store mod. So you can just hit that and then you can just sort of select what kind of color you want. So I've really taken my time through the back here in the back of the awning. We can just hit the different lights there and turn on interior lights. You can see at the back we have our pack off-road in the back. That's a 40-litre water tank, and that's pretty handy because I've got all that plumbed in with a sea-flow pump there as well over the back. And to be able to top it up, it's just a matter of reaching in here. It's easy to just undo at the top there. Really good quality kit actually. Nice mounting brackets and everything like that. And then I've just got a little sea-flow pump just living down in there, all plumbed through. We've got our store mod, of course, gives us 240 volt up the top here through the inverter. Gives us a couple of plugs there at the top, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, all the standard sort of stuff you've probably seen in the videos. And this is our sort of command panel, so we can turn our inverter on. We've got our live readout here from our Victron unit of what's going in and out. Got our little water sensor here, so that tells us exactly how many litres. We've got a sensor at the back there, it tells us how many litres we're using. All of our buttons, our air, fridge switches, that's our pump we've just turned on. Then we've got our little hose just down the side here that we can blast out a bit of water. That's nice and pressured. It's just gone with a 4 litre a minute pump, so it's nothing too crazy. And then that kind of just lives down the side there in the gap behind the store mod. Got our air hose and then all of our charging stuff here on the side, like you've seen. You've seen all of that sort of stuff. So that's the store mod. In here, I've just got all of my main sort of get quickly camping stuff, be able to make up a quick coffee, that sort of stuff on the side of the road. In here, peg straps, all that sort of around the camp type stuff. So other than that, inside it is pretty sort of self-explanatory really, what you kind of expect. I've just got everything all nice and conduited and all the cables sort of tucked away as neat as I can. Fire extinguisher here on the side, ready for quick access in the event it is needed. But other than that, everything in the back is pretty well ready to go. The only other thing I've done is I've upgraded the Outback Armor leaf springs in here. We did have 150 constant loads and we've upgraded these guys to the 300 kilogram constants, just for a little bit of extra stability. It's probably, I don't have 300 on there now, even with the tent, we're probably a little bit close, but I figure by the time I add all of this gear that you'll see in the overview gear video, by the time I put all that in there, we're going to be needing about that 300. So, and that'll just help the suspension handle everything like it should. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight into what's on the rig, what's new, what's changed, and how I've sort of set it up to go and tackle the Cape. Now I'm going to do a follow-up version, a part 2 of this video. As soon as I get back, this thing is going to be covered in red dirt, no doubt. Dust, all the things, hopefully in one piece. And the intent is that I will do a second part of this when I'm back, and I'll show you sort of warts and all, how everything worked, how the gear worked, how the vehicle performed, all of that good stuff. Now we'll be daily vlogging the Cape trip as well, so you can check all those videos out if you want to follow along with the progress. And there are a couple of other videos that will be coming out as part of the Cape trip series as well. The gear overview video will be going through all of that gear in a 2-part series on what I've taken, and then when I get back, what worked, what didn't, all of that sort of good stuff as well. But then the main event really is the full how to do video show me how style, how to do Cape York. So if you've never been, you're keen to go, it'll run through everything to do with sort of where to go, I guess what it all looks like, what each of the sort of obstacles look like. We're going down the old Telegraph track, all of the bits and bobs, how much fuel you need, how much water you need. It'll cover everything from A to Z. Of course, massive thank you to the patrons of Video Show Me How. Guys, your extra support is truly appreciated as always. If you're keen to check that sort of stuff out, head to patreon.com/VideoShowMeHow. We do a monthly giveaway or so over there, and there's some perks and other stuff. So if you're interested, head on over and check it out. That's all for this one, guys. As always, I hope that you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.